So, I have a lot to say in a short period of time. You all know this definition, I hope. But here's another way to think about sustainability. It's our shared responsibility and opportunity for improving quality of life for all, now and for future generations. So in the United States, we focus on the fact that it was really the business sector that first started with sustainability. And the business sector understands that sustainability is smart business. Not all of our business sector, but many. And so we focus on this triple bottom line of sustainability. Now, we have different worldviews in the U.S. I apologize to you and to the rest of the world that we aren't moving faster on sustainability and that we aren't better leaders. But in the meantime, there's a lot of good that's going on. One of the things we found is that in order to talk to our Tea Party, which is an adventure, I'll tell you, it's important that we talk not just about social well-being, and we can't use the phrase social justice at all, because to them that means increased dependency on the government, and that's unhealthy for people, that instead we talk about preparing people to participate in democracy. What do you need to prepare to participate in democracy? Well, you need a roof over your head, and you can't be hungry, and you need access to good education. Oh my goodness, some of the pieces of social justice. So, this is a definition I love. It comes from one of the World Summits, that education for a sustainable society enables people to develop the knowledge, values. Yes, everything we do in the classroom is a value choice, so we might as well be explicit about what we bring into the classroom and the values it represents. Knowledge, values, and skills to participate in decisions that'll improve quality of life now without damaging the planet for the future. Let me go back to the word decisions. I've been in higher education for 32 years as a professor of renewable energy technology, energy management, and sustainability. Before that, I owned an energy company and then came to the college so I could give it away to the community and catalyze change. And the whole time I've been in higher ed, the emphasis has been on critical thinking. Do you have that emphasis here too? We're going to produce critical thinkers. So have you ever been at a meeting or at a dinner and the person sitting next to you goes on and on and on about what we need to do to make the world a better place, and they may actually have a good analysis, and you know they're not going to do anything? Do you know people like that? Raise your hand if you do. We have created those people in our higher education institutions. They're good at analysis. They could get all A's in their classes. They're good critical thinkers. They don't know how to make change. They waste a lot of time in meetings. Now, not all our graduates are like that, but many of them are, and many of us are like that. This is not a time for that. We cannot afford to graduate. I have a name for those people: armchair pontificators. Armchair pontificators? I'd love to hear that in French. But we can't afford to graduate one more armchair pontificator. We need to graduate people who are systems thinkers who can be effective change agents. So there's really only two things we need to do to create a more sustainable future. This comes from a diagram my colleague and I created for the National Science Digital Library. What we do in education's in the middle, and there's a lot more in there, of course. You know, research and critical thinking is in there. But there's only two things we need to do. We need to change our private choices. In the U.S., we have less than 5% of the world's population. We're consuming 25 to 30% of the world's resources. It's absurd. And we also need to change our policies and our regulations that are outdated, that are geared towards subsidizing the consumption of fossil fuels and producing toxins and creating a lower quality of life. In some ways, there are other regulations we need to keep because they are good. So it's about being selective to get rid of outdated regulations and policies so we can create a sustainable future. If we do those two things, we change our private habits and our public policies, which includes governmental policies and organizational policies, we will get to more sustainable communities. Why is ecosystem on the outside here instead of part of a triple bottom line? Because everything we do is in the context of our ecosystems, as you know. You just used an ecosystem service. You just breathed, and it's not fully costed into our economy. So we have some great things going on in our government in the U.S., believe it or not, doesn't get a lot of press. We've had an education sustainability summit with people from all over the country. We did, and it only took six of us, representing organizations, but to call the White House, connect, build relationships, and say, we need a green ribbon schools contest for all of the K-12 schools in the country. They looked at it, they said, that's not politically difficult, okay. And next month, we announce our Green Ribbon Schools winners, but more importantly, we've had over 33 of the states all contributing, and their school districts contributing to be more green and sustainable schools. So it's looking for where the leverage points are where you can shift the societal norms. Let me say that again because it's so important. It's looking for where the leverage points are so you can shift society. So also we've got standards, believe it or not, in our career pathways. We have multiple career clusters that now have green and sustainability in their standards, and those will be issued in June. We also have multiple federal agencies where even though Congress is having trouble making decisions and moving forward as a group, our federal agencies have a lot of ability to do that. So we've got many federal agencies that are funding sustainability, which is good, not enough, but it's going on. One of the projects I'm a part of is, you know, STEM. STEM is here too, right? Science, technology, engineering, and math. We've received money and 3-year project, and we work with the professional associations of the faculty to come together to include sustainability into the high enrollment freshman and sophomore level courses, as well as upper level courses. So we have multiple projects coming out of that. One is to get sustainability into the textbooks. So any of you here who are faculty, who would like to be a reviewer or a subject matter expert for McGraw-Hill or Cengage or other textbook publishers, they are collecting names. I can give you the website. You can come and you tell us how you're putting sustainability into your course. We'll get that into a textbook that'll affect 100,000 students per semester instead of the number that you're teaching. Oh, and they pay you for it. So it's looking for those leverage points again. Where can you have high impact with your efforts? We've had an executive order too from the White House that's gotten some done, but not enough. So I'm president of this U.S. Partnership for Education for Sustainable Development, and we go to mainstream national organizations and we say to their leaders, you have a unique and important role to help create a sustainable future. We can't imagine doing this without you. And we convene these national organizations, and we don't say, would you like to do this? Don't ask that question. Then 2 to 3 years of meetings and votes, we say, how can we help you start your sustainability initiative? How? And then they immediately start thinking how. We give them information, they start, and then we communicate their efforts. So we have multiple sector teams of our society through the U.S. Partnership, and of course we're not the only one. There's so many great organizations. We have 400 partner organizations, but there are many more. We have sector teams in communities, business, faith-based organizations, higher education, K-12, and youth. And so we're convening these national leaders and catalyzing sustainability initiatives in all of those sectors. Higher education is taking a leadership role in the United States. So what does that look like? If you come from a higher ed institution, now, do you have a sustainability committee at your institution? Raise your hand if you do, please. Okay, so if you don't, or in your another organization, you can look at this as the components for your sustainability committee. Have somebody in each of these areas. So in the U.S., there's a fairly deep implementation of sustainability into the core mission and planning, into the curricula of the institution, and that means into the core outcomes for all degrees, as well as into minors, as well as into certificates, as well as integrated in across the curricula, as well as community outreach and partnerships, so we help to educate the public, into our student life so they can live more sustainably and develop better habits, and our purchasing, and it's not just green, it's also socially just. We will, not buying things from sweatshops, etc. And research, of course, Operations, very similar to what you saw, although I was trying to understand it, but from the slides that I can read, it looks like very similar things that we're doing on campuses. And also professional development. We do a lot of professional development with our faculty and our staff throughout the country so that they see the role that they can play in this. So the key thrust and outcome is that sustainability learning outcomes are 21st century learning outcomes, and that everybody needs them, students, staff, community members, so they know how to and can choose to be more environmentally, socially, and economically responsible in their multiple adult roles: personal life, work life, community member, interacting with their government. You know why it's such a high priority, right? Professor Reese was great at that. But what people don't know is there are solutions. We don't know what they all look like, but we know that there's a lot of pieces to those solutions already out there. And please, please, when you teach sustainability, do not teach doom and gloom. Do not teach doom and gloom. That's not fair to put onto our students. It's not fair to put onto our public. Besides, it's not effective. They shut down. So you have to focus on the solutions and let the students be part of creating the solutions so they can build a self-concept of I can help fix this. Let me say that again. If you only take one thing away from me today, the learning activities should be around creating solutions. The research project should be not about assessing the extent of the problem. We know we're in deep trouble. It should be around creating the solutions so students develop the skills and the self-concept that they can help contribute to a better society. The core pedagogy for this is not just education, not just critical thinking, not sitting around and doing research. It's education with action. Action research. Engaged scholar, catalyzing sustainable communities as academic assignments. So I was just at Yale 2 weekends ago at a US-Canada summit, and there was a woman from your Association of Municipalities in Canada, and she said, we want to do so much to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, to reduce our toxins, to help people live a more sustainable lifestyle. We don't have the staff. I said to her, if we could hand you college students who for their academic assignments were working with you on real-world projects, would you like that? I would love that, she said. So think about your learning assignments. Reorient them to be real-world, to be about creating solutions. Because if we only give them a poster like this, ugh. You have to add to the right-hand side, and there's a lot we can do about it. And that's what we're here about at this higher ed institution, is learning so we can do about it, and doing while we're here. Giving students a chance to practice being change agents, because you know it doesn't always work when you try to make change. As my mother would say, what made you think this was going to be so easy? You have to be willing to try multiple times. And when a student tries to make the world a better place and it doesn't work, they have an opportunity to learn from it and to build resilience and develop coping skills and emotional intelligence to be a lifelong change agent for a better society. This means that some of us need to get over our cynicism. In higher education, we are in privileged positions. And if we walk into the classroom as cynics, not willing to take action to make change, but only to write about it and put it in a journal that only a few people read, that's the old, outdated model of higher ed. We need something different than that today. So that means we have to change how we behave. And change is uncomfortable. Professor Zients from Stanford University did a great stream of literature to show, great stream of research. Change is uncomfortable. So you want to make the world a better place? Let's get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Get uncomfortable. Help your students be uncomfortable. We have all sorts of national networks that we've created. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on those, so I'll point them out to you, and I assume this will be posted somewhere and you can go in and link to it. So we have all sorts of national higher ed associations. They include the professional associations for presidents, academic officers, student life, boards of trustees, facilities, business officers, planners, all working together nationally and also helping their members. You know, we have over 4,000 universities and colleges, so we're working with all of them to help them move forward. We have a resource center there. Much of it would be applicable to your work. Send us what you're doing so we can post it in our resource center too. We also have the academics. So we put together the disciplinary societies for all of these disciplines plus more. And they have been coming together for the last 6 years. You know, your faculty go to their disciplinary meetings. Bring sustainability to them. We're working on getting it into textbooks, into changing promotion, tenure, and accreditation requirements. Very exciting area, by the way. Informing legislation and policy and educating the public, and changing the identity of what an academic is. So it's not just about research that goes into a journal, but it's actually about engaging in behaviors that'll create a more sustainable society. The resources page there is delicious. As academics, if you do nothing else from what I've said, go to this website, click on resources, and scroll down the page to see what we've compiled for you, and there's going to be much more soon. I could go through the learning outcomes. What are the core learning outcomes for sustainability, but I don't have time. They match Sweden's and Mexico's and the US. We did a comparative analysis. I've already talked about the need to create people who are change agents, who move from cynicism, apathy, and fear. Here's a list of change agent skills. Go to that link, see what it takes to be an effective change agent. Build it into your courses, build it into your reflection exercises. And students are already powerful. They're pushing the system, thank goodness. Empower them to do it more. And I could tell you about amazing things that students are doing in the US. You have amazing students here too, I hear the stories. But they're involved in all sorts of items, from just changing choices on campus to actually hiring new faculty. When the budgets got tight, University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire students said, we want sustainability-oriented faculty. We will do a sustainability fee, and we're hiring faculty with it. It's amazing what students can do. This comes from a model of professional development for faculty. From the U.S. partnership, we go and do faculty and staff development a lot. This model takes somebody who's like, oh, sustainability, not me, and then with a half-hour exercise that, oh, I get it, I can do this. Oh, and I want to work with you on it and you on it in different disciplines. That's what you want a good faculty development session to do. You can read this about what we do. Do you know about the American College and University Presidents' Climate Commitment? It's over 650 college and university presidents who've made a commitment to eliminate greenhouse gas emissions, to get off of burning of fossil fuels. Major. And has made a real impact on policy. So work with your other partners and stakeholders and motivate the public to take action. Convene. Colleges and universities can convene all of the stakeholders to envision and act on building a sustainable economy with economics as if people mattered. We have some stellar examples in the US. And we could talk more about how do you create the systemic change, but I don't have time. One of the key groups is educate the businesses about what they can do. And also educate your students to be assertive and entrepreneurial so they can walk into the businesses and show them what they can do. We can choose a sustainable future, but we have to take bigger steps than the ones we're taking now. I know that we're not perfect in the United States. Believe me, I know, and I apologize again. But in the meantime, we do have power to make a lot of change. There's something called scaffolding. When the present system is dysfunctional, instead of pushing against it with all these vested interests, you build another system that makes more sense. You scaffold up another system. It pulls from parts of this system, and then it gets strong enough that the other system can fall away, and this one becomes the new societal norm. That's the plan we're working on. I bet you are too. Here's my email. I want to honor you for all the wonderful work you've already done. Even more so, I want to congratulate you for what you will do in the future. Let your enthusiasm show. It's contagious, and thank you.